Hey Kevin, how are you doing? I got the project to work. I fixed some of the issues that it had and I re-uploaded the document, so you want to check it out. And then I'll talk about that today. Yeah, you don't have to install the app the way that the instruction is there. It's gonna be really hard to look at the country code and this stuff. I'll show you how you can do the other. You just have to download the app on your phone, WhatsApp, and then you use a QR reader to read when you run the program, it gives you the QR reader. Once you read it, it's going to ask you to allow, the Raspberry Pi to be on WhatsApp. And then you just, on the Raspberry Pi, you just click use this device or use this computer. And then after that, you can actually send or receive message and it'll work. I'll show you how. Okay, so you're the only one that shows up today, huh? Well, I guess. Um, okay. Well, Sebastian is here, so they might trickle in. Hi, Sebastian. How are you doing? So I wanted to come back to the last. Claudia's here. Hi, Claudia. So I want to come back to yesterday. We left off and I fixed some of the issue. I found out that there were some errors throughout some of the lines, and so let me VNC into my Raspberry Pi now so I can show you, and I'll re-walk you through the process briefly, so you can see how it actually works. Okay. So yesterday we talked about WhatsApp and how to use WhatsApp to really um, have some remote control of the lights. Okay. And so let me call my VNC viewer up. So, all right. So yesterday we left off and there was some issues with the code, right? I know that the creator for this particular project, he put some stuff on YouTube, but he didn't explain too much about some of the areas. So I wanted to touch base and come back to the project. So I want to highlight some of the things that you need to fix. So as you can see here, I'm going to share screen. It works. I had my husband message me yesterday because so the new WhatsApp version doesn't allow you to connect without your mobile device or some kind of QR scanner. So you have to have a tablet or some kind of, so it's really ties to your phone number. Okay. And as I suspect, it's really a voice over IP process. So in the project, if you want to test it, you first need to install WhatsApp app, and then you would use your QR scanner on your phone to scan it after you run the program. It's going to ask you if you want to allow the Raspberry Pi to access, right, your chat, and you should say yes, right? So so as you can see, right, there are specific message that you need to send in order for it to respond. So for example, if you type in CD bot, it's supposed to give you, hi, I am WhatsApp bot, the message, the string that we put in the script. And then if you receive a message that says turn on light, it's going to tell you, it's going to respond. It says, sure, your light is turned on. and this is already programmed into the actual code. So I kind of wanted to revisit this, and I wanted to tell you some of the fix area. Okay. So first, there is an error in memory allocation for the old NumPy library, because it's using components for NumPy or NumPy, right? NumPy. So what you also have to do is you will need to run the upgrade for it. Otherwise, it's going to throw an error down the line. So um, what you have to do is you have to do a pip3 install upgrade numpy, or you can do a -u numpy. Okay, so let's try that. Pip3 install upgrade numpy. And it's going to pull the new library and it's going to put it into a second location. So if you get like a memory address error when it says 0 times, XD, where it's looking for 0 times XE, what it means is it's looking for an updated library in the next location of the memory. So to really minimize your error, you have to do this. Okay. So I highlighted one of the package that you also need to install. Um, I also fixed the wiring issue with the LED if you want to hook it up, because otherwise it doesn't work. My bulb is broken. But anyway, all right. So here I put down on step 7 that you need to also do an upgrade of your NumPy. And then for the wiring, I had gone back and I had reused the diagram from my last class, which is 833B. And because the way that the old diagram is shown is that um, the creator for the project, he hooks it up in the GPIO, um, what was it, GPIO 40, I believe. And that particular port or connection is actually being used by the system for something else. So it's going to throw an error. Now, if you're not doing the LED, you can comment out any time that you see like the RPI GPIO line. So that way the interpreter would skip it and then move forward. Otherwise, it's going to run into the problem. Okay. Then, um, so when after we write the script, right? So here actually, let me switch video real quick. So what I did was I rewired it to different connection like the new diagram. So instead of hooking it up to the GPIO 40, I put it into the 18, because if you look at your card, the 18 is also the PCM, which you can use it for LED. And so that way you're not using the same port for other type of connection. Okay. Then, okay, so if you want to do the LED, you can rewire it. Now, so the script, if you're not doing the LED, okay, I'm going to show you the script itself. Okay. If you, once you open it up, right, you can see that if you have the script, if you rewire it as pin 18, or I'm sorry, GPIO 18, you need to set that as 18. And when I ran this, it didn't really have any kind of issues. So some of the things that was that he had added, like he put that board, which is incorrect. you need to do a set mode with the BCM. And then for the setup, you need to have it output. Okay. Now that won't be pin 40, it will be pin 18 if you want it to work. And then if you don't want the LED, you simply put a hashtag in front of that line. And what that does is it's gonna let the interpreter know to skip it. And so it won't run that line. So you can put, you can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for now. And then also, if you go down further, um, near the end, there are a couple of things. So the whole point in this project is what? You are supposed to be able to receive a message like turn on light, and it's supposed to turn on the LED and it's supposed to respond. So if you don't want to use the LED, you can also comment out here and then here. And then I also change up the IO to GPIO. Um, traditionally, because if you're using something that might be close to Python keyword or something that relates to its library, it's going to have a hard time. So, by practice, we want to use GPIO dot instead of IO dot. Okay. So, um, so then all you have to do is if you look at the script, what it's saying is that it's going to navigate on the screen, okay, once it receives a message. If that message is CD bot, it's going to reply with I am a bot and so on. And if it's receive a message turn on light, then it's going to respond with with the message that it's turning on your light. And then if it receives turn off light, then it's going to respond that it's turning off your light. So the way that it looks is like this. Okay. So if I received a message last night, I had my husband retest it. So he sent me turn off light, and then it automatically responds. So we are going to test it again. I'll give you my number, and so if you want to, you can send a message, and then we'll see if it works or not. Okay. So if it receives a message CD underscore bot, it's going to say, hi, I am your WhatsApp bot. And all of this was automatically responded, right? I didn't type that. This was coming from the code, okay, the script. Now, if you type in CD lowercase underscore bot, it will not be able to see it because it didn't have the exact match. So it has to be the exact match based on the string that's defined in your code, which we see over here. Okay. So it has to be the exact match like this, like all lowercase, and then CD capital underscore bot. Okay. So what happens when you wanted to test this? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this stops. Okay. I'm going to close this. Actually, yes. Okay. So I install WhatsApp on my phone because it's tied to my number. And then I went and I authenticated with WhatsApp on my phone, right? Like I just used my Gmail account, and then I run the code. So I open it up, right? And then I click run, and the page just opens up. Now, the first time initially, you should see a QR scanner, the QR code. And what you want to do is you want to take your phone, turn on your QR reader, read it, and then on the Raspberry Pi, you need to click it, use this computer. Okay. And so basically, it's using your phone connection to be able to have WhatsApp communication. That's what it's doing. Okay. And then after that, you can receive your messages. So let's test this real quick. Okay. I'm going to put my number. If you have WhatsApp on your phone, You can just send me a message on your phone, but I'm going to put in the chat um, my number, and then you need to put in, like, let's try CD underscore bot. Okay. And then my number is, okay. And I will delete it. Okay. So if you don't want, WhatsApp to your message to be there after this, we can test it. So you can also put in like turn on light, okay, and then or turn, you just type it as a text, turn off light, like that, all lowercase. So what happens is when you or me, when after we run the code, if we receive the message, it should, what happened is you have to hover your cursor over the new message on your Raspberry Pi, and it's gonna and let go of your cursor. It's gonna automatically navigate based on the grid that is defined here. Okay, that is defined like in one of the functions here. Let me show you right here. So what it's doing is it's going to navigate on the screen of that web page. And so it's going to move to the position, and it's going to click, right? It's going to click reply, and it's going to copy the defined string, and it's going to paste it into the reply, and then it's going to click send. And so the send and the OK function was like right above that. Okay. So it notifies you if the new chat is available, and so on. Okay. So let me see if I have commented out all the things that's appropriate. I'm getting a new type error, so there was something that must happen here. Let me run that again. And so every time that you run, you want to close out. So we wanted to use that on there. Okay. So you notice that it has to be exactly like this, right? So let's try this one. Hold on one second. Let me see. Okay. So as you can see, right, it shows me that the new chat message is available. And then, but you have to type the exact string though. It has to be like, it has to be like all lowercase for turn on light and then turn off light. So, okay, Albert, can you send me turn on light all lowercase? No, no, that's uppercase, lowercase, because it won't do it. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so one second. Red message, red last message we received. I'm getting a type error. That's fine, thank you. Yeah, it worked before. Hold on. I remove small paper clips. Position, type error. Let's try why it's seeing as a type error. It's not pulling the module correctly. I had it working last night. Okay. Yes, so I'm getting a new message. It shows me that it's ready for automations. So now, oh, let's see if it does it. There it goes. Ah, the cursor is moving, but I think turn on, yeah, turn off light has to be lowercase, Albert. I was trying to read the other message earlier. Okay. Try again. Yeah, there we go. It takes a second. Yeah, so I get your messages coming through Albert, but let's see. It's not. It's waiting because like when it got new messages, I think it stops. But hold on. Yeah, that's fine. I'm trying to see why it's not. So subsequent messages now, right? It pauses it. Okay. So you see that? So if you put your cursor on the text, it turns off the LED light. So Albert, you should get a message back saying, okay, your LED light is turned off. Okay, so I will put that here. So you gotta like be patient with it. Now, if you put your cursor on turn on light, now it should show that. Um, so my dog's gonna go crazy. So as you can see, if it receives like too many messages, then it would like you have to wait a little bit and then you just gotta put your cursor on it. So this is probably not the really best way to approach this, but at the same time, it shows you how you can remotely control using an app text. So, okay, let's see. I just gotta find the right position for it there. Sorry. It's there we go. Yeah, you gotta highlight it there. So now, if you really want to make it where it's a little bit more automated using API, there are resources so you can search for WhatsApp API. I know WhatsApp API.com, they provided that, but with that, you have to pay for the license for the API. Um, there are also, you know, chat bot that you can also look at, which uses, see, now it's doing it. So I have to play with the cursor a little bit and put it on turning off light. So as you can see, it's turning off the light, turning on the light, and so on. But so that's a way that you can remotely control. And so it's not really fully automation. Um, yeah, so I put my cursor on it, and then you can help it by highlighting it or put your cursor on top of the message that you receive. And sometimes it is a little touchy with that. Okay, so you got to be patient with it because the way that we position that is really based on the grid, right? The column of where it is on the screen. And so when it receives a message, it tries to navigate to it. And I think that we can probably move it a little bit higher to make sure that it actually works a little better. But okay, let's see if Kevin's turn off light, see if it responds to you. Okay, hold on. Yeah, it sent you. Oh, you sent me turn off light. Let me see if it sends you back something. There we go. So I kind of have to help it a little bit by putting the cursor. Okay, so it worked. So now you guys can see on how you can. Now, this only works on the web page, okay? It's not fully an API integration, so I wanted to clarify that. So I was telling this to my husband yesterday, and he was like, oh, well, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of automation if you have to move your cursor a certain way. And I said, well, it's the beginning. We can expand on it and make it a little better, but it automatically responds and based on, if it's received exact commands. And if you want to wire up electronics to it, you can remotely control it through WhatsApp. So now you can see how that's done. Any question? Okay, so I updated the document. So I wanted to let you know that I re-uploaded it. The fourth version should have all the fixes in it. And so you can play with it and have a good time. Okay. So, and it also output here. So if you're receiving any kind of error or anything like that, possibly that if you're running two WhatsApp page at the same time, it might throw an error, or if you haven't updated it, it might throw an error. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm gonna stop this now, and then we'll move on to Raspotify. Yay. Okay. So check out the document. I, the only fix you saw was adding that NumPy update and then changing up your LED wiring if you want to hook that up. Okay. Now this part, I would there's some issues if you don't have the proper country name and the mobile network number correctly. So you don't have to do this part. Okay, I just wanted to show you if you were to really install it on Raspberry Pi, this is the steps that you would have to do to get that WhatsApp onto your Raspberry Pi. But you can run it via the browser by using the QR code that it provides. Okay. All right. So we are gonna go into Spotify on Raspberry Pi. This is a project that I've done a while back, so I revisited and everything works fine. The downside of this is to really test it effectively, you would have to have a premium membership. But I want to take this opportunity to show you how you can put Spotify onto your Raspberry Pi, and then you can use Raspotify. Okay, that's what it's called. So they wrote packages for this. So the first thing that you usually do whenever that you're trying to add new tools to your Raspberry Pi is you will need to do an update and an upgrade. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go to my Raspberry Pi here. So we would do sudo apt update. And there are also times that you would need to re-update again. So anytime that after you do the installation, and if you wanted to access certain thing from that installation just to make sure, you should always go in and update and upgrade again. So this is a common thing with Raspberry Pi. Um, so I just want you to know that. Okay. So as I just install new stuff, I'm gonna have to tell it yes, that it's gonna go ahead and fetch and rewrote over some of the locations, and so on. Okay. So once I have update and upgrade that, I'm gonna move to the next step here, which is step 2. So we want to install curl and we want to do transport packages. So in audio media type of environment, you have to be able to acquire access. Okay. Especially with authentication. If you use Spotify, when you authenticate, it generates GPG key, which uses cryptography. And with that key, it would be specifically to the session that you use. So when you're on, it would validate that key so that way you can receive music, streaming music, the time that you're on. So with that, we have to install HTTPS curl or curl HTTPS. So these packages need to come in order for us to be able to have the communication for the session, and we are going to use the GPG key. And I put the link here in case you wanted to know what that is, what kind of cryptography it's using. Your Raspberry Pi supported RSA key, which can be used for SSH. And so when a system communicate with another system or server, usually you want that communication channel to be secure. Okay, so with that, we have to really validate that for the session. And so a lot of the um, web-based environment, you have to have some kind of cryptography key in order to really make sure that you are who you are, and so we can avoid, some security issues or have protection. So um, so what we're going to do next is we are going to install app transport in HTTPS curl. Okay, so I simply just paste this command in here. Okay, and it might take a little bit longer on yours if you have not installed it before. And then what we're going to do next is we are going to work with GPG key. And so I just want to open this up so you can see. So here it talks about key algorithm, how key can be generated, and so on. And so if and it talks about how you can use keys to connect to SSH. So once you install that package, you can use GPG and you can do a full generation of the key where it does the key pair. So in this, when you're looking at like PKI environment, public key infrastructure environment, what happens is you would be utilizing a private key and a public key, and it needs to be paired so that way you can establish that session. It's very much like on the analogy for this is like how it needs to really be able to see the match in the key in order, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same, right? And in some cases, it would use public key only, and then in other cases, it would use private key. So depending on whether you're encrypting or you're decrypting. So in general part, what happens is if you use your private key to encrypt, then it needs the public key to decrypt. If you use your public key to encrypt, it needs the private key to decrypt. The reason why they design it that way is that in the case where if they capture your key or your key is jeopardized, it won't jeopardize the session. Um, how can they really acquire your key? Well, if it's, let's say, if I'm using the same exact key, like how I would give you a key to my house, it's the same exact duplicate. What happened is they can listen in on the session, they can run scanner, and then they can take a look at, you know, they can find out, sniff out some of the information and be able to put together your key. There are also published key information online, right? They would share a list of different well-known keys. And so, or they can use a software tool to find the key match. So there are many different ways that somebody that doesn't have good intention can jeopardize the session, or they can do man in the middle attack and so on. But it's really interesting if you wanted to get a little bit further and read a little bit about that and how you can use like this with cloud-based environment with SAML, um, and so on. So about account, how you can manage account security and authentication. So a lot of these companies, they use a cloud company to host their data and their resources. So you would see that, it's commonly implemented as with the standards. Okay. So with that, what we're going to do is we are going to use the app package manager so that way we can verify the files and retrieve the information that we need for GPG key. So you are going to do each line at a time. Okay. So we're going to do that. Yeah. I think that, the sessions that being really jeopardized would probably be something like, account transfer, server communications that um, would be, super confidential. Um, but we always wanted to take the precautions. What happens to my thing here? Oh, yeah, it's supposed to pipe. Oh, let's try. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's try the whole thing. Okay. So you can copy and add that section, and then it should give you the Rasp Spotify main there. Okay. And then after we do that, we are going to go ahead and do an update again, because once you add in something new, if you want to utilize it right away, you should update and upgrade it. I think what I did my curl with an extra hyphen there. And I copy and paste the whole section, it cuts off the echo. Yeah, and it so let's try that part again, Alex. Yeah, I think I have a hyphenated thing wrong. So 1 second. Let's try that. Let me reopen my project here. I'm going to copy it to so it's going to be 2 commands, okay? I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Sorry, it goes into Microsoft Word and then it got autocorrect. I thought I had that fixed, but obviously not. So let me put it in the chat. So the first one that you need to run is this, okay? And then that will be the first command. And then the second command that you need to run is this. Sorry, it does the Zoom chat does the hyperlink automatically, but so the curl to the V is the first one, and then the echo. Starting echo is a separate one. So let me rerun this. Let's close this program. Okay. So that will publish, and you notice that it's an RSA. Okay. And then the second one. Okay. So when you do an echo, what that does is it actually um, append or create, right? And then with that, when you do a pipe, that's another way for us to add in an additional command to that previous command. Like you can group multiple commands together as they are supposed to go together as a task. So what you're doing there is you are going to pull the Raspotify list, and then you are going to obtain the main, so it can be that it will get the application that you need. Okay. And then you are going to do the update. So we need to rerun the update because now we have added the Raspotify repository. So if you have done that, then you can update it and then you can access it. Okay. And it's really simple. There's not a lot to this particular exercise. It's just adding the appropriate packages and the key to access Raspotify. Okay. And then we are going to do a sudo app Raspotify. Oh, maybe I typed it wrong. Hold on. Let me fix that. Sorry. Yeah, missing install. It was late last night, so I apologize. So let me type I will paste the command for you. So this is going to be second command of step 4. Okay, let's share screen again. Okay, now we can run it. Okay. And then after you install Raspotify, then you're good to go. So what will happen is if you have Spotify installed on your phone, okay, then you can open it up. And Spotify they have like regular membership is free, and then you can have the premium, which you have to pay, you know, but we don't need to do the premium. I just want to show you that it works. Okay. And then, after if you just install it, you would then have to set up your music playlist or your artists, and then you would go to settings, okay? And then in setting, you should see an option to connect to device. Let me see if under the devices, okay. Let me switch camera real quick. Okay. So if you click settings on Spotify, you should see devices, and then you should be able to connect to the device. So if you click connect device, and then it's going to pull the mobile devices that you can use for the remote control. Okay. And then you should see Spotify on there. Once you have you can select it. Okay. Okay. Now you can also set up configuration for your Spotify. Like you can put in, you can put in some configuration information on how you want the device to really be, especially just for the Raspberry Pi. Um, let's see a chat question. Let me try to. So I have an Android phone, and I connect my Android to my Spotify, and it did. Um, do you try to get Raspberry Pi to the iPhone? Yeah, either way, if you have so on step 4, okay. So for step 4, after you have to install these, okay, you have to do the update, and then you have to install Spotify on the Raspberry Pi. Then you should be able to connect from your Raspberry Pi if you're using your iPhone. So on your iPhone, if you have Spotify, then you can go to its setting, and then you can choose connect to device, and you should see Spotify Raspberry Pi. Okay. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, if you go to settings, like it should be um, select device, and you might be able to see it. On mine, it's a little slow right now. So check out your settings, and you can find a device, which is your Raspberry Pi, you can connect to. See some chat question. Yeah, Spotify setting on your iPhone. Spotify app settings on iPhone. Yeah, the gear on your top right. Kevin's right. Any other questions? We're okay. Now, if you choose to do this one, and because you didn't like the WhatsApp one, you can, you can take a picture of this one, or, you screenshot this one that you set up Spotify, and I'm fine with you doing either one. Um, if you have done the other one already and you want to do this one too, that's okay. As long as you submit one image for one of the exercises, at least one image, I'm fine with giving you the credit for it. Okay. And then the second part to this is if you want to set up the configuration, this is not required, right? But I want to show you how that can be done. So the way that we can use, there are two ways that you can edit an existing file in a certain repository. Raspotify is a repository in that you have acquired, and it uses that. So basically, it's packaged, and we can go in and we can modify the file that it used for the configuration of that app on your Raspberry Pi. So there are two tools that Linux generally use. You can use an IDE like Tawny or Idle and so on to modify any kind of file really, but uh, you can do it directly in the terminal using Nano or Vim. And Nano works for Mac OS as well. So if you're using an Apple system, you can call up terminal and you can use Nano, which is its equipped text editor that you can use inside its terminal. So we know that Raspotify is stored in a folder or a directory called default, and that folder is in the etc. So what we want to do is we can go in and we can look at the file. And if you want to add additional changes to it, you can modify. So when you're looking at settings on your Raspberry Pi, Raspotify, um, this file will add into some of the areas in the settings. Okay. So it's like a way that we can look into Raspotify settings. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. So what you see here is Nano, right? And it tell you new GNU Nano 3.2, and this comes equipped. It comes pre-installed. It comes installed with your Linux system. Um, So most Linux releases would have some kind of text editor built in. You can also use VI editor, or you can install Vim, and that way you can directly write program inside the command line. Like when I teach programming, sometimes, especially for Java, I like to use command line so that way I can just run it directly in it. But you can definitely use IDE. So on the bottom, it shows you how you can use hotkeys to be able to get, navigate through the actual file. But just to do a quick run through, most of the time when you write for configuration file or file for Linux, it's good to put, you know, the path. And so this is the path for your Raspotify. We talked about that. And then the device name that can be Raspotify. So if you want to modify its name, you can change it up in the configuration file. And down here, it tells you how you can, replace something or change cut text, uncut text. You can modify it. And then when you're done, you can save it. So you can also read additional lines as you go down further, but in the exercise, it just showed you that, you can take a look at how the device is defined. Okay, and then this is your bit rate. So the higher the bit rate, the better quality that you're gonna get. So right now, the default is 160. So if you want a better quality with Raspotify, then you want to define it as 320 instead of 160. Okay, if you want low quality, you can put 696. And so with that, right, so for example, if I want more highly defined or high definition type of sound, that's going to be for my Spotify. I can. Um, so then you can also go into the details like username and password. You can modify some of that. Now, when you're done, right, you can use the hotkey. So right now, if I want to exit, I would just do Control X and it takes me back to my command line. So again, that, you see the little hat, all that is a Control key and X together to exit and get out of that. Okay. So if you need help with, Nano, you can also search on how to use Nano. Um, but Nano is definitely a good tool to use if you want to edit some file within your terminal for Linux and Mac OS. Okay. I also use VI Editor. I like using VI Editor as well. So the interface is slightly different. Okay. So what it did was it shows you that you can check out some of the areas in the file. If you need to edit it, you can. You would press Control X and then Y, Control Y to, and then enter. Just if you do Control X, it will just exit and bring you back to the terminal. Okay. If you make changes to your configuration file, then you need to close out the Raspotify and restart the service. And the way that you can do this is you would do a system control command in Linux, and then you would issue the second part of the command. The option would be restart and then Raspotify. So if you need to restart an application, you would do a system control restart and then that the application name. And so what that will do is it's going to close it out and then reopen it. Okay. And 1 second, I see your chat, but let me paste this in. And then all that is it's, if it doesn't throw any error, then you're good. That means it restarts. Is yes. And if you wanted to stop it, you can also close it. But yeah, so what happens is it's a service that's activated and you can use any device to connect to it. Is it always going to be good? No, right? Yes, it's going to utilize the system resources for that particular service. But the way that we want to do this, so let's say that you have a Raspberry Pi at home and you want to be able to connect to it from different devices for Spotify purposes, you can. But that's if you have premium membership. But in the regular free ones, you don't really need to connect to like an application services this way. Okay. So now you can connect to it, using your phone, using, other devices that have Spotify installed. Question? So here I put down that it does require, right, the premium membership. I don't know if you have it or not. So, um, and if you wanted to use this exercise as your lab, once you connect it with your, if you see the device, right, you can just take a screenshot. It doesn't have to be connected. Okay. Mine took a little bit at the beginning to kind of go through. And then once it's connected, it should show you. Questions? Pretty easy steps, right? To get, Raspberry Pi is very flexible in that there are a lot of really great resources for it. So you can definitely, you know, do build a lot of different type of things with it, from hardware to using just software to working with, installing different services and so on. So since we have touched on Res, Spotify this week, um, I like to do an internet radio project next week. And with that, you can probably, 3D print like, something. I looked at several projects that is feasible. They also already have the design for the 3D print. So you can make something that you can use for home by attaching some kind of speaker with it. There are some small speaker that you can use and you can wire it up with Raspberry Pi, or you can simply connect it with, some kind of small Bluetooth speaker, and then you can 3D print a box and you can put it in there. So that way, you can have it like either voice activated if you have a microphone adapt to it. So there are a lot of things that you can do, very much like the Echo or, your Google device. So we can look at something like that next week. I also like to touch on some other type of web-based services, for those of you who might be interested in setting up servers like VPN servers for your home, um, or different things that we can use our Raspberry Pi for. So I'll have a group of maybe a few projects that we can do. We can select. So if I select four, I would let you know that maybe you can do one for the assignment and then one for the lab, and I will walk you through those. But that's basically the plan. And then you can think about how you want to, add some design element to it and make it like more of an IoT base. So far, I think everything that we touch on in this class with our assignment in our lab has been, web oriented. And so you can see how different areas of Internet of Things really tie together, and you can make it, something of a larger project down the line. Okay. Any question? No question? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.